Hello.
Can you hear us okay, Brenda?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. All right. The time is now 7:01 p.m. We will kick off the Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 Montoursville Area School Board meeting. We will start with a salute to the flag. So if you please join me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, Brandon, roll call.
Mr. Albert is not here. Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Here.
Mr. Gardner,
Here.
Mr. Hausman,
Here.
Miss McCoy,
Here.
Mrs. Meyer. Here. And Mrs. Oberheim,
Here.
and Mr. Young is absent.
Hey, good time.
Mr. Albert.
Do we have recognitions and presentations for the
Mr. Blaze, yes.
Mr. Blaze? I've read it. It's not that good. It's pretty short.
We've heard it before.
So I brought a couple of our friends along from the Valley with us tonight. So, I feel like we do a phenomenal job acknowledging our students for the academic success that they do here in Montoursville. I feel like we cover their extracurricular activities. Hands down, we know what all of our students are doing. And I think, one important area that at least to me, I don't think we touch enough on is the community service that our kids do, here in Montoursville and throughout the county. So in early April, I had some fourth grade girls bring me a note asking me if they could do a community service project. And I was like, oh, look, it's PSSA time. We're super busy. We're swamped. Let's just wait. Thinking that they would forget about it. So we finished PSSAs and we got through school and they were super determined to get this community service project kicked off. And so they could provide something for the people in this county. So their idea was to, well, first I told them, I want you to go back, tell me what your idea is, tell me what you want to do, create a flyer, tell me who we're going to give the money to. They came back in 3 days with all those check boxes crossed off and marked off. So there's no way I can't do it for them now. We have to go through and do it. Can't tell them no. So I just wanted to highlight their success tonight because in 3 days, they wanted to sell lollipops and they went through and made bracelets, handmade bracelets, for every purchase that was made. They sold lollipops for $1. They ended up going just over $325 or right around $325 in 3 days. And last Saturday, this past Saturday, they all met me and their families at the American Rescue Workers in Williamsport, and they donated the checks to the American Rescue Workers. So I just want to say that they're fourth graders. They're going to middle school next year. I'm sad to lose them because they are phenomenal. They are everything you want. They are scholars. They are behavior wise, they are phenomenal. Community service wise, they're phenomenal. So I kind of wanted to brag about them for a little bit and show you the future of, not all the future of Montoursville Area School District, but just a couple of them. So I think I just wanted to acknowledge that and bring them here tonight because I think it's special and there's not a lot of fourth graders out there that I think would come up and devise a whole plan and have everything worked out from the beginning all the way to the end. So I want to tell them thank you, and I want to show them to you all tonight. So there you go, girls.
Now, wait.
Yes. So Miss Gonzalez, we have Marcia Gonzalez, we have Greenlee Fry, Olivia Hamilton, Elizabeth Easton, and Beer Jane Watts. So they are going to be at the middle school next year. So Mrs. Albert, I told them that you and Mr. Myers are will come up and help them out, do something that's going to go above and beyond for next year too. So thank you.
Are they prepared to speak tonight, Mr. Blaine?
I told them hand, Jamie, do you want to speak? I know you spoke first.
Did they bring a lollipop?
Yeah, come on, come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
All of you, come on back up to the.
Yeah, support.
You need,
the
she
leader
needs
there.
support. Come on back up.
We kind of started with an idea that we wanted to help people in our community. We kind of had, wanted to help homeless people. We kind of started by seeing a homeless man. He'd sit under a bridge. People would come up, give him money, talk to him. And he's like an American flag. Don't know if you guys see him under the Williamsport Bridge. And we asked Mr. Blaze if we could sell something in school and then donate it to people who are less fortunate than us. He over time agreed, and we decided to sell lollipops. We normally do that in school around Valentine's Day. And then we wanted to give it more than just a lollipop. So we did 2 blow pops for $1 and 3 dum-dums for $1, and then an extra bracelet that you would get for every purchase.
So you made the bracelets too?
Yep,
Wow.
rubber band
Did
bracelet.
you have Tootsie Roll lollipops at all? See how many licks it would take to get to those.
Well, very nicely done. Congratulations, and we have your name, so we'll keep an eye on you and see what other great things you do through McCall and once you get to the high school. Thank you, ladies.
Great work. Thank you very much. Mr. Blaze, I'd read their autobiographies.
Way more interesting.
All right, we have no student presentations tonight. We don't have a student here, so, all right, so moving on to the reading of the minutes. This is to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 14th, 2024, and work session minutes from May 28th, 2024. Take a motion to approve those.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Did we get Brenda's?
Oh. All right, I forget your number. Sorry, Brenda.
That's okay. I,
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the prior presentation period, we have Pastor Larry Leland here from the Faith United Methodist Church.
Will you pray with me? God, there's much to be grateful for as we held in the beauty of creation, surrounded by such generous, gracious love, and for the gifts of this work to which you have called these persons. We pray in this season of transition for all of those who are living into changes, living into newness. We pray for the graduating class of 2024, and as they enter the workforce or military service, or as they continue their education, that you would bless them with the gifts and the skills that they have received here throughout their educational career, and bless them into the future that you have planned for them. We thank you for the oncoming classes entering Loyalsock Valley and Leiter, entering the middle school, entering the high school. And we pray that in a season where change is sometimes difficult, we pray that you would give them grace and that you would give them joy, looking forward to new opportunities. But it's not just our kids that are in seasons of change. We have teachers and staff who are beginning their retirement, who are moving to new classrooms or new roles and responsibilities. And we have teachers that are coming on board, starting their careers with us. And we pray that you would bless them as well. And God, we pray that you would bless the work of the school board so that every child in this school district might receive the kind of education that we so honor and celebrate, and that we see at work in the lives of these young ladies who came to share with us this evening. And we pray your blessing upon this work in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Leland. We have our friends from Site Logic here tonight as well.
Good evening. Thank you for providing some time to speak with you again tonight. If we can think back a few months, we entered into an agreement with the district to do a review of two of your buildings, Slater and Loyal Sock Valley. Came back last month, gave you a preliminary assessment. We're here tonight to give you a little more detail, in fact, a lot more detail. This is a very thorough, I think, and comprehensive view of your two buildings. We have been doing this in conjunction with the prior study that was done by Crabtree Rohrbach about 2020. And once again, I'm Wayne Brookhart. I am a senior business consultant, also a school board member. So I empathize with some of your challenges. And this is Melissa Kolstock. She is our director of deliverables, and I am going to turn things over to her. And we're going to present. And at the end, if you have any questions, we'll be here for as long as you'd like us to entertain whatever you'd like to know. Go ahead, Melissa.
Great. Thank you so much, Wayne. Yes, we actually posed for those pictures. Sorry, is it down or right or left? Thank you. So we have a pretty light but comprehensive agenda for tonight. We will highlight the facility assessment. We'll talk a little bit about the process, how those assessments came together. We'll give you a facility maintenance cost for each of those schools, how we quantify that information, and then just very lightly touch on the next steps concerning your facilities. As we begin facility assessments, how we orient ourselves to facilities is by considering a rooftop to blacktop assessment. So we're looking at your buildings, we're kind of breaking it up into all of its pieces. That's what you're seeing on the left-hand side of the screen. So as we talk about your buildings, I'm going to be providing some context as far as things like architectural finishes, classroom additions or renovations, building envelope. For those of you not familiar with that, that's that exterior skin of your building. So roof, windows, exterior facades, storefront systems. We're talking about things like site and ground, mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. We're also looking at things like ADA or code compliance, specialties within your spaces like casework that's built in to your classrooms that offer storage, and things like security. The list on the right, obviously, are the two schools that were included in your assessment. Before we get into talking about these facilities, I would like to take a moment and highlight something that we actually saw throughout those two buildings, and that is a lot of warrior pride. How do we know? What do we see whenever we say that? Well, it is the care and careful maintenance of your facilities. Certainly student and staff respect for these buildings. We're not seeing things like graffiti, defacement, destruction of properties. We have seen that in other districts. That was not present here. And it is very clear and evident that this district has continuously invested and maintained your facilities, and you have made an incredible effort to extend your building systems and the life cycle of those facilities. It's important to say that because we will be talking a lot about kind of what's wrong. And I hate to focus on that because really we're here because you've done so many things that are actually right. We're here because your buildings have been wonderfully maintained, but unfortunately they are starting to exceed their life systems. So what you're seeing is an example of our physical assessment. These are some of the resources that we utilize as we gather and compile that information. On the upper left-hand side, you'll see 360 photos, and down below, the floor plan that we use to chart and graph that information. So we are taking photos of your buildings, we're noting them on a floor plan, and then we're taking it a few steps further. We're interviewing staff, we're reaching out wherever we can to district vendors and getting a very holistic view of what's going on in your facilities. And then on the right-hand side, we are compiling that information in this very detailed list of an asset condition assessment. This is an example from Loyal Sock. I know it's very difficult to read, but ultimately what this will inform is the overall condition of all of those systems as we look at your facilities. In greater detail, what you can see is an example. So on the top right is an abstract of the very first line item, which are boilers that are present at that facility. As we take into consideration the equipment age, and life expectancy, the overall maintenance, we are arriving at what we are calling an age-adjusted asset condition. The arrow at the top is pointing to an alarm condition. Down below, you can see our matrix. That asset condition is informing a strategic plan for repair or replacement of that system. So think of that matrix like a traffic light. Anything red, full stop, something's going wrong. Either it requires more than regular maintenance or it's continually breaking down and it should be addressed. Alert and caution is more like the yellow light. Items are operating, they're starting to exceed their life expectancy, maybe a little bit more than regular maintenance, but they're operating and can be easily maintained. And then predictably acceptable is green. You know, we're just noting it here as a condition of the assessment. It's operating as it should. As we look at Loyalsock Valley, on the right-hand side, you can see kind of the total of the asset conditions that we assessed. What you're seeing generally is a lot of red, orange, and yellow. So what we're seeing holistically when we look at this building is a lot of those major building systems require immediate or near-term attention and or replacement. So the electrical systems, key pieces of equipment that are essential to, you know, the building continuously operating without disruption. So things like the main distribution panels, branch circuit, circuitry, wiring. Within the mechanical systems, we're looking at things like the heating system and terminal equipment, plumbing systems, so that's piping, terminal equipment, things like plumbing fixtures, some of which are original to the facility that use an extraordinary amount of water as a resource. It's something that informs the overall health and wellness of the facility. Again, the toilet facilities, some of the finishes are degrading, as well as a lack of ADA compliance within those areas. And then what we're seeing is things like hazardous material abatement, such as the vinyl asbestos tile flooring that's present, and some of the dehumidification unit ventilators that currently use R22 refrigerant. R22 refrigerant has been phased out by the EPA. And because of that, it is slowly becoming difficult to source and expensive to resource. So that those units that utilize that are now becoming more and more expensive to maintain over time. As far as the building envelope, we're seeing things like the roof, which generally is in good condition, but we're starting to see doors and windows age out, seals maybe not being as tight as they should. A more detailed list with some photographs of the conditions that we found can be seen here. I won't read all of them, but pictorially what we're showing is on the left-hand corner, upper left is that 80-gallon domestic hot water heater. The burners were replaced, I think, in 1998. So what we can see is a very old unit that has been well maintained. But both of those things are now significantly past their life expectancy, and the time has come to make a determination on how you'd like to address that. You have two boilers. These were those ones that we were talking about that are currently undersized and are struggling to maintain consistent heating temperatures in those like extreme conditions. Something to consider. And then on the lower right-hand corner, you can see in the library, those cassette units that utilize that R22 refrigerant. By comparison, we're taking a look at Leiter Elementary School. Here we can see a lot more of the yellow and green conditions within this facility. Equipment repair and replacement are less urgent here. Many of these upgrades have sustained since the addition on that school. And as that addition was put in place, a lot of those major building systems were also addressed. So the life cycle of those systems was refreshed, and you're seeing the result of that within that facility condition assessment. Many of the deficiencies that we see here are focused around air handling system equipment, the heating plant, and distribution systems, and some building controls. Again, pictorially, we're seeing some of those things. Notably, the two cast iron boilers, we noticed one was leaking, and we actually were able to take a picture of it. It's on the upper right-hand corner. It did have the retubing in 1998. There are various split systems throughout the facility that are also using that R22 refrigerant that was phased out by the EPA. A couple more things here, not as drastic as at Loyalsock. Pneumatic piping and controls are inconsistent. And actually during our assessment, our facility analyst noticed a hissing noise from the thermostat that indicated that the controls were leaking here. So just something to address, and we noted it within our assessment. I know there's a lot of information on this page, and I just tried to condense it all, but here is the other piece of our assessment. So while we are physically in your spaces, moving through them, taking note, that forensic survey of what we saw, the other piece is analyzing your utility information. So we have 2 years of utility data, and the pie chart on the left is showing your utility costs broken out by fuel. So you can see 50% of the district's utility costs are associated with fuel. That's either natural gas or fuel oil. We also have 5% of water, and electric is at about 38%. The chart on the right-hand side is comparing your 2 elementary schools to 2 different indices. The first is the SES-PA. That is the SiteLogic Elementary School Resource Index that we keep of all of the elementary schools of similar size and age across the state of Pennsylvania. The second is the U.S. Department of Energy K-12 reference, and we use these 2 as a benchmark to compare against your facilities. What you can see is that Leiter and Loyalsock Valley both are using less electric than the benchmark schools. However, it should be noted, your schools do not have central air conditioning, so they will be always using less electricity than the benchmarks, which currently utilize air conditioning. However, if we take a look at the fuels, you can see that Leiter is right at the average for those versus Loyalsock Valley, which is using much more fuel compared to those benchmarks. You can see what we've highlighted is fuels is obviously the largest component of the district's utility expenditures for your elementary buildings, and it accounts for, that 57% of energy costs. Overall, we summarized what your average is. It's about $1.22 per square foot for 21-23 billing cycles. And it should be noted that the heating system at Loyalsock is fuel oil. It's very expensive. It's much more expensive than natural gas, and it makes up 73% of the overall operation cost of that facility. No matter what you're considering, we would highly recommend switching to natural gas if possible. Those energy savings could be compounded if the boilers were also replaced as well. So you could consider that potentially. Additionally, the water conservation measures at Loyalsock are recommended. Those older plumbing fixtures that utilize a lot of water, we could see a decrease in that pretty significantly because the water usage at Loyalsock is equal to that of Leiter. And the population there, I think Leiter has about 500 students and Loyalsock Valley doesn't even have about 300 students, but they're using the same amount of water. So just something to consider when we compare the 2. We also have recommended just between the 2 buildings, just different type of occupancy-based or demand-based energy conservation strategies that the district can consider. We can get into facility maintenance costs, but I'm happy to pause for any questions. I know presenting this information is kind of like giving you a drink from a fire hose, so I apologize, and I know I could talk quickly to get through it, but I'm happy to entertain any questions if you have any. Okay. As we take a look at the building assessments, those financial maintenance costs, what we've done is we said, let's take a look at your district facilities, the recommended time for replacement, and your alarm, alert, and condition for those buildings. So if we take a look at Loyalsock Valley, we see within 0 to 2 years, which is that alarm condition, there are just over $3 million of almost immediate needs within that facility, compared to Leiter, which is just under $1 million. Looking from the 3 to 5 year timeline, we see a significant jump, specifically at Loyalsock, which is closer to 10. So within 5 years, the district we're seeing a need right around $13.4 million within 5 years. That's pretty significant. Versus Leiter, which is just over $6 million. If we extend that out to 10 years, overall at Loyalsock Valley, what we're seeing is $19.5 million of rough order of magnitude need within that facility. We compare that to Leiter Elementary, which is just over 17 million. And you're probably looking at that and you're thinking, oh, these are my 2 elementary schools. That's not so bad. They're pretty close. What I need you to consider is the square footage of those facilities. Loyalsock Valley Elementary School is just under 41,000 square feet versus Leiter Elementary School. If we were to divide that 19.5 million by that 40,000 square feet, the cost per square foot would exceed the cost of square foot for a new facility. If we were to do the same for Leiter, we would arrive at a cost that is slightly below the cost for a brand new facility. So what that's telling me is Loyalsock Valley Elementary, the cost to maintain that facility is starting to outpace the cost to build new. That's actually a metric. It's called the Facility Condition Index. It's used throughout the industry, but just wanted to present that to you here. Leiter Elementary, for lack of a better word, is breaking right on schedule, right? It's breaking, you're able to maintain it. You can keep pace with the repairs that you need that are occurring at Leiter Elementary. What I should note, and I almost forgot, and it's very important. The orders of magnitude that we are showing you today do not consider the following. They are not adding air conditioning to either of these facilities. They are not taking into account any programmatic changes, and they do not include any additions to the facilities. This is simply replacing what is in need with something that's new to address it. So it's a one-to-one replacement. So if you were to add those additional costs, those numbers would go up. Because of that, we are able to make the following type of recommendations. So in summary, the regular maintenance of your major building systems has extended the life of those systems, allowing for deferred replacement. That's a good thing. You have extended these building systems almost as far as they could go. You haven't had to replace them yet, but the replacement of those facility systems will need to occur in the very near term. Okay. The magnitude of repairs and renovation at Loyalsock that are recommended for replacement within 10 years is $19.5 million. And much of that work has to occur very, very soon. The site logic facility analysis actually validates a lot of what your Crabtree-Rohrbaugh study found, and we recommend and support the consolidation of the elementary students to Leiter Elementary School. A consolidation project at Leiter School would address the majority of the urgent facility replacement needs at that building. So if you were to add on to it, that renovation would trigger kind of a restart of those facility systems, and you would be in a position to most easily maintain that facility. So next steps are pretty simple. For this board, you know, we would consider a determination of elementary school consolidation. You would also need to consider engaging an architect to begin any preliminary design efforts, and then consider engaging SiteLogic for preliminary construction estimating efforts that go along with those designs. And we are here to support the district any way that you would like us to, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, no one's gonna be surprised at these questions. Sebastian actually looked up. So my question is, okay, when we were looking at later and it's at the 17.1 million,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep, I'm just gonna
Um,
flip back to
That
that.
would be great. So that's at the 17, around 0.1 million. When we're looking at doing a remodel, addition, everything like that, that would include a lot of that 17.1 million.
Yeah.
I guess that's, so that's what I'm looking at, because now the valley, and that's 0 to 2 years, because obviously we have to make recommendation, get that built and stuff like that. Is, how much do you think if we make the recommendation to consolidate to later? How much money do you think we're gonna have to put in the valley to keep it at least safe? Like, when we look at, what will we have to do with the boiler? Is there anything in the 0 to 2 year? Because if that's the 3.4 is obviously if we're keeping the building open, right? What do you think, and you may not know this off the top of your head, so this is normal with me. What do you think the cost of keeping that open for that 0 to 2 years? Because that's probably by the decisions are made, architect drawings, everything like that. We're in that 1 to 2 year range of getting that handled. How much do you think it's gonna cost us to keep that building, quote unquote, safe for our kids?
So that building is safe for your kids.
Okay,
All right, so let's just start there. There's no unsafe condition for those students.
okay,
What we would support is whatever plans you currently have in place for that facility through the potential construction or consolidation process.
Okay.
If something, you know, comes up as an emergency or needs to be addressed, we could certainly help with that. But for now, we're not seeing anything. It's just really what we would say is, as you prioritize your facility needs, these are your top facility needs within that alarm.
that's what I just want to make
Yes.
sure, because the boiler part was like a little bit worrying to
Yes.
me, and that's expensive, right?
It's a
So I-
lot worrying to us.
Right, and so that's the part where I'm like, is that boiler, you can answer that, is that boiler gonna make it 2 years?
A long time ago, you have to remember, you don't have a crystal ball, because I said it could fail at any time, and what happened, lighters failed instead.
Right,
So it could go for 10 more years, those boilers are very good boilers,
Mhm.
right,
very well maintained, they could go tomorrow, I don't know.
okay, all
But
right,
they haven't
Could you get a
opened, they haven't
crystal ball?
inspected, I have pictures of it,
Mhm.
right.
they look good, so
Okay.
that's telling you that they're cast iron, they're gonna.
That we can probably make it, knock on wood.
That's for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, that's, and it just was concerning because that was a lot of the red was around that
Yes.
system, and that's fairly important to keep the building operational, just saying, and just wanted to make sure.
We do have a danger category. The good news is there's nothing in.
There was no black, I
Yes.
saw that black
Yes.
category, I was looking
Yeah,
at there.
anytime we experience anything that we would notice danger, the district is automatically notified. And no such condition exists.
That's why I just wanted.
Sure.
to- Okay. That's all.
Good question.
It's my understanding in July, you'll have some numbers on the costs. If that is vacant, or what it will take to keep that until it would sell if we consolidate. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have, just in an effort to give you this information, what we can now do is follow up with that type of information. So that would be ancillary calculations that we can perform as far as operational energy costs. We could actually give you an energy cost savings for your facilities to help inform whatever decision that you'd like to make going forward, as well as the ones that you just described.
And then also, programmatic savings from staff cuts and such if a consolidation would occur.
That also should be some part of the decision making process and those.
So there's still a couple more
Yeah, it's gonna
data
happen.
points to come. And just to be clear, this number is to maintain
Correct.
over a
Right.
10-year time period.
Yes.
What we have in place.
Yes, and I will say this, and we always have to remember this, but COVID brought this into very, very sharp focus. These are 2024 numbers. And we all know what happens in the future. We don't have a crystal ball. I certainly don't have one for 10 years. I wish I did. But we have not put escalation on these numbers. But I need you to keep that in the back of your mind as we start looking forward, especially anything past 5 years. Okay? All right. Thank you so
Very well.
much for your
Thank you very
time. We
much.
appreciate it.
All right, we'll now move to the public comment portion of the agenda. This is for residents and taxpayers to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberating before the board. You have 3 unpaused minutes.
Jack Callahan, 113, North Arch Street. I don't want taxes, see, I don't want them raised over though, that it's only $50, because everything else is raised. The food, that, and my social security and pension isn't raised. And that's what I'm living on, and I don't think it's I think can be some cuts. Whether it's teachers, whether it's administration, whether it's whatever, I think some salaries could be cut or whatever, and there's just too much other stuff for the general public that isn't making it, paying the bills and stuff, and I'm for one, I'm not paying the bills, and I just think should be some other alternatives, and I don't know. I mean, it's $50, but then it's just everything else and that. So I don't think you should raise the taxes. And also I want to know if the track is going to be open and what hours it's going to be open for this year. I can't use it. If I could use it, I would be over there. I can hardly walk anymore, but I mean, I think there's people that want to use that track and it should be open to the public, and should be open in the morning till the night or to 3:30 or whatever. Even at night, it should be open from sun up to sundown. And if you got walk on the outer 3 lanes and no baby strollers or skateboards or roller blades or whatever, and no eating and that, you're gonna have that, but I mean, you just can't baby it, and I mean, it's open to the public, and it should be open to the public, and I'd like to see it, keep, it's a good thing. It's better to walk on that than it is the street. So I'd like to see track. I don't know if anybody has any information as to 6 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday.
not, okay, but that seems like all right. But there should be a sign up, so people understand that. And I knew down in Harrisburg, when I walked at Susquehanna Township's high school, it was open all the time on the weekends and all that. I did it Monday through Friday, but sometimes I a little frustrated and I did it on the weekend, on the weekends, but and that track wasn't as well. At one time it was nice, but it kind of went downhill a little bit, not from, I guess where,
I mean, and that's a good school down
Jack.
there.
That's your 3 minutes, buddy.
All right.
You want to come back
But-
up at the end? You're
No,
welcome.
no.
Thanks, bud.
It's hard for me to get up after what he just said. My name is Kathy Burns. Do you know what that man just said? And do you know who that man is? That man is a man that has been at damn near every school board meeting for God knows how many years. Did you hear what he just said? And he's been your biggest supporter. That man just asked you, please, don't raise the taxes because he's having difficulty, and multiply. Thank you, Mr. Callahan, for what you said. Multiply him throughout the school district. And you look at the people that are struggling right now. I'm asking you one more time. Don't do it to your biggest supporter. Don't do it to Mr. Callahan. And don't do it to the other residents. Give us a year. Let us help you. We'll be happy to help you. We may not have been here. I may not have been here over the years as much as I should have been. I am now. But you have support in the community. Don't do it. I'm asking you, please. Not for me. I can afford it. And so can each one of you, most of you. Do it for a gentleman that's sitting in this room that comes to every meeting and supports you people. Please. Thank you.
Ron Snell, Lower Manor Road. I just want to start out by saying if this proposed budget is passed, it'll be the 9th time in 11 years that there was a tax increase. I am so sick and tired of hearing people say it's for the kids. Was it for the kids when the last board approved a contract for the our bus contractors that goes over and above what the federal reimbursement rate is for mileage? Was it for the kids when the past board voted to approve after the business manager negotiated a contract that gave her a $10,000 a year raise? Was that for the kids? That's money that's coming from taxpayers. Taxpayers don't mind spending money for our kids. But when excessive money is being spent that doesn't benefit our kids, that's a different story. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop tonight. Because people are struggling. And when the business manager says that costs are increasing for the school district, remember, costs are increasing for the taxpayers too. But the problem is the taxpayers don't have somebody else's pocket to dig into for the increases. And I've been to every meeting here, and I have heard nothing about any attempt made to trim any areas. I'm not saying like Jack did about maybe cutting teachers' salaries. I'm not saying that. But there are areas that could be trimmed, and there has been no discussion about trimming any areas. There is nothing that come from the business manager about what she did to try to trim in areas. It needs to stop, and it needs to stop tonight.
Bill Chapman, 2686 Brushy Ridge Road. I was involved in this school business back in 2015 when they built this high school. All right. We had plenty of support not to build it from my township. We had a man that put over 2,000 signatures on a thing and everything. We had all the support and to not build this school. They didn't need to build it. They could have fixed up what they had. But anyway, getting back to the other point, the timing is not right for any of this. This whole thing is totally off course. We're gonna be hit with an assessment from the Lycoming County Commissioners. That's definitely gonna hurt us somewhere along the line. So we do not need this hitting us too. So why getting the double whammy? Until we get our power back, the taxpayers have to have power to say yes or no to this stuff that you guys are talking about. Instead of just letting it go like it is. The taxpayers lost their voice in this business long time ago. And we should have had our power to say, look, you guys, we can't afford this. But no, they just go right ahead and they do whatever they darn well please. So that's all I got to say.
Good evening, Scott Metzger. First of all, I want to thank each one of you for your service. Your backs are against the wall. You ran for these offices. You knew the problems. We have more bleak news tonight. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Where's it going to come from? I've heard arguments, well, our millage is not as bad as other areas. And I said, don't compare yourself to the Joneses. And I looked into the millage situation. The reason why millages might be higher in other areas is because they don't have as much property. The properties are assessed at different values. There's many factors of why their millages are higher than ours. They have their own sets of circumstances. So that's not a valid argument. What is a valid argument is we have to live within our budgets. The reassessment will hit the county. It's going to hit your tax bill 2028. It'll take 3 years to complete. They say some's going to go down, some's going to go up, some will stay the same. I don't know. But it will be in your tax bill in 2028. That's a done deal. I was against it, but it's a done deal. That's going to happen. So when people talk about taxes, the county's taxes have gone up twice in 15 years. They've lived within their means. You have to live within your budgets. And when I hear a 0.75 or a 0.56 increase in 1 year, I understand if you're faced with a situation, you're going to have to do something. But you're looking at a very bleak economic time, very bleak, where people can't afford their groceries, they can't afford their medications. We're in a situation where we're still blessed because we still have income coming in. And we can raise our income a little bit. Other people can't. They can't go out and get a part-time job because maybe their age or because of their health. So they're stuck with this situation. We have a situation in the borough now with this curbing, and people are being faced with that. That's thousands of dollars. And they're trying to resolve that situation. So it's coming from all the different directions. It's not just the decisions you guys are faced with. So I ask, whatever you do, keep it at a minimum. I know you have a bigger picture to look at. I would ask that if you decide to close down a school, that you have many nights of meetings out at the Valley to hear from those constituents, because I sat in a meeting 10 years ago at Later School, and that school was packed with people from the Valley that didn't want it closed. What was going to happen to the Little League field? What was going to happen to Later? Who was going to bust them in? There was a lot of questions. And that school board did not address it at that time. They decided to kick the can down the road. and now you're faced with that situation. So I just ask that whatever you do this year, because of what's going on, and everybody's what they're experiencing, that you keep it at a minimum this year. Get by. I hear again, you know, I like to hear the cuts. I like to hear what's being cut, what's being eliminated. That has to be transparent, that has to be relayed to the public, so that we see the effort on your half and we see what's going on in your half. But again, thank you for what you do. And again, it's a tough decision, but you have to do what's responsible for the entire community. Thank you.
Well, one other point I want to point out is
All the school taxes coming into your school district. And it doesn't cover all the costs, just like our property taxes don't cover all the county expenses. We rely on a lot of grants from the state and federal government to get us through our $100 million budget. But what the state does give the school districts and the universities throughout this Commonwealth is 36% of $46 billion. 36% of the state budget goes towards education. Now their budget's doubled. Joe Ham's down there fighting it. A lot of wasteful spending, but $36 million, 36% of $46 million goes to education. Again, at some point we have to live within our means because people can't afford it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol Johnson. I'm a little bit late to the game of this tax increase, not knowing a lot of the details. I listened tonight to the speaker about the buildings. One thing I heard was, this is for the kids, and I'm trying to figure out who can tell me, am I allowed to ask tonight? What will the kids be missing if the taxes aren't raised? But is there something specifically, that, can you answer that?
Yeah, ma'am, this is your opportunity to speak. We just listen here and then we can deliberate later. So
Yeah.
we won't
So-
answer direct questions right
All
now,
right,
just to get
so-
your opinions out.
How does a person find that out then? If it's not at school board meetings and the public has questions, how do you find out those answers?
You can email me, superintendent. And I can get you the answers.
Okay, but on the whole
You can
board,
ask, I'll write them down and get back to you.
so the superintendent can answer. But you don't get input from all the school board members on their thoughts that way. It's through the superintendent.
On the budget? Or the
It
public?
just questions about things like I had. What are the kids gonna be missing?
You can email the board members.
Okay.
I want to hear directly.
Yeah, well, I won't belabor. I agree with everyone that spoke tonight about their reasons why they would like to hold this down to nothing. At least a bare minimum for the same reason. So I won't really repeat it because I could echo everything that they said. I think that's all. Thanks.
All right, seeing no one else in the room, we'll go to Zoom to see if anyone has anything they'd like to say. Please raise your hand. Yep. None of them have anything to say. All right, that will conclude our public comment section. And we will now move on to the business manager's report.
You received copies of the treasurer's report for the period ending May 31st, 2024, for the general fund and cafeteria funds. They're submitting these to the board for your consideration.
I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions, comments? Right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
We've received copies of the budgetary transfer to the general fund. We are submitting this to the board for your consideration of approval.
Take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
I need a second from someone. Any questions, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Hi. Sorry, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. I was flipping my paper.
The budgetary transfer for informational purposes as well. Onto the presentation of bills, we've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and cafeteria fund for the period ending June 11th, 2024. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and
Okay, take a motion to approve those.
Could you give me the numbers? Because I can't hear Brandy very well.
5.4, that was the roll call vote. So we'll take a motion.
Presentation of bills. I can second.
Thank you. Well, I thought we got a motion to approve. Do we not get a motion yet?
I can go on.
Okay, so we'll start that again. So we'll take a motion to approve 5.4.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
There we go.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Bassett,
Yes.
Mr. Eisen,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Hug,
Yes.
Ms. McCoy,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer. And Ms. Owen.
Yes.
All right.
Just to let you know, I met with, the insurance company today. The Liberty Mutual premium is going up $34,536 from last year, which takes us to $203,507. Commercial properties up 38.8%, which is the building portion of our insurance. Other companies have declined to insure, and that's, all I have for the update.
All right, moving on to the superintendent's report for the evening. Mr. Farrar, we'll start with you.
The only thing I'll emphasize, just a big thank you to the 4 special individuals who are leaving, whether for retirement or moving on to a different phase of life. But Mr. Carl, one of our door security guys, Mrs. Lundy was a paraprofessional for many years in the district, and then 2 retiring teachers, Mrs. Boyle and Mrs. Polizzi, who we greatly miss. And we're thankful for their service. And we celebrated them, and we'll celebrate our 4th graders in the middle school. So good end of the year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blaze.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you again for letting me recognize those, the group of girls here, they really work hard, so, I think they have a lot of pride in it, so thank you for letting me recognize them tonight. And we just closed our year out, we had finished up with a bunch of activities, and fun, like, you know, we needed it, so everybody needed it, good thing with, the adults. So,
All right, thank you, Mr. Knopfler. Mrs. Albert.
I'll echo Mr. Blaze and Mr. Farrar that we finished our year up. We've had a great year at McCall. Want to thank we reestablished a PTO at McCall, so everything got a field trip and a lot of fun. Each grade got a fun day at the end of the year to kind of celebrate their year. Want to shout out to our faculty and staff. They raised over $2,000 in dress down days, and all that money went to students, families in need, or if they had families or anything at community organizations. So now,
That's great, thank you. Sebastian.
We are just transitioning to our summer work. We do have a new trainer here, so I'm happy to have the extra help with him and get him all set.
Great. Mr. Hanner.
Yeah, I just wanted to report to the board that the special education plan has been approved by the state. That was approved as of May 20th. And that plan is good for us from 2024 up until 2027. Also, then, as we are ending the year, we're also starting to plan for next school year. And I met with a team of special education teachers, guidance counselors, and administrators at the middle school level and the high school level to help us look at caseloads as well as schedules for students to ensure that they're going to get the classes that they need. So we were able to take care of that and planning for next school year. And then the last thing that I have is the last IU is going to be hosting the paraprofessional conference again this summer. They are going to be actually this year combining with Capital IU, which is out of IU 15, and Lincoln IU, which is out of IU 12. So all three IUs are combining together to put on the paraprofessional conference this year. It will be virtual, as it has been ever since COVID. And we have a number of paraprofessionals that are interested in attending that conference and gaining more knowledge in the various areas that they want to grow in.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Graduation, fantastic event. Thank you, Mr. Badger, for your participation.
That's fine.
We graduated 130 kids. The weather was fantastic. The sunset was incredible. The kids' smiles were even better. Seeing the parents on the field afterwards, all the hugs and pictures, and just a fantastic event. There was one other time I saw the stadium that full, and that's when we hosted Southern Columbia. So I think we were borderline being a sporting event there for an academic celebration. So that was fantastic. And that's all I wrote.
All right, that concludes superintendent report. We'll now do general agenda items. I would like to combine all of 7, so 7.1 through 7.7. If everyone is okay with that, take a moment to peruse through, and then I will take a motion to approve those. Whenever anyone is ready, we'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Any questions on those?
I only had a question. How did, obviously we're approving it, but, feedback on the new science program?
The pilot we did in fifth and seventh, fantastic teachers. Obviously felt it meant they spent a lot of time on the new steel standards for science. It certainly checked it off the boxes in meeting those standards. What was really nice about it is the feedback from their students. Much more engaging curriculum. It focuses more on phenomena or experiences. So it's a lot more hands-on and really gets that thought process going, critical thinking skills, and we'll align with the test pretty good that's coming out. So a lot of great feedback from it.
I was just saying, I have in seventh graders, so I did, but their ends of one, so. I wanted to do just overall.
Yeah, the teachers were really, really happy with it. Easy to deliver.
My son had it at Montgomery this year, and it was very good.
Yeah, really good content. And it fits with what we're doing, with all the grants that we've had. It's been $750,000 grant money to put the STEM program in the elementary schools, K-4. It really is coming up with that and coordinates nicely with what we're doing there. And it's funny, we were at Penn College today, the admin team, and we were looking at, we have it's a piece of equipment called Glowforge, and it's in our elementary schools. And they had the industrial size one there. And I looked in the window and I had to laugh because they're making the same thing our second graders are doing. And it's not a knock on Penn College at all. It just was funny to see. We got some second graders working on smaller scale, but this type of equipment, and it's good to see that we're doing those things. And that was all done with grant funds to get that going, so. Yeah, yeah, and that was thanks to the foundation. With the EITC funds that come in, so we're bringing some really great programming in, and teaching some skills that kids will need leaving here, through grants.
That's all I had. I just wanted to double check the teacher feedback.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very well.
And I thank you for 7.7, the Act 339 guidance plan. That puts us in full compliance with PDE and all of the state reporting. So thank you. Been a long year getting caught up with PDE, but we are there.
That was great work. Thank you. All right, personnel section, again, I'd like to combine 8.1, through 8.4 as well. Take a moment to peruse through those. Motion approved. Questions, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
And Jacob is here tonight.
Hi, before I introduce myself, I'm Jacob Soko. I'd like to thank you all for this amazing opportunity. I'm excited to get started, and I look forward to many great years teaching in my
Happy to have you.
Jacob was an exclusive sub for us this year, so we got a year to test drive him.
What year?
Whole year, and he fits with us. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yes, happy to have you. Thank you very much. Go to work.
That's all. Have a great evening.
You too. Thanks for hanging out. All right, policies, 9.1, this is approval of following second and final reading of the following policies. That would be 801 public record.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, guys have it. Budget and finance, we'll do 10.1 separately, and once we get done with that, then we'll combine 10.2 and 10.5. So 10.1, it's the approval of the general fund budget in the amount of $35,485,729 for fiscal year 2024 through 2025, including salary and work schedules as proposed. I'll take a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any final comments? We'll do a roll call vote on this, Brandon.
I did want to entertain the question, and I thought that it was a good one. Can we give any examples? And not we, I mean, obviously it would come from Brandy and Mr. Taramina of ways that they have tried to cut. Like starting with a zero budget next year will be helpful. There was reasoning that it was too late to try that this year and work from there, from the zero. So is there any ways that you could give to me and the public of what, if there was anything that you tried to cut from last year's budget?
From year to year, so from year to year, what we did was we adjusted secretary hours. If you recall, we took two 12-month secretaries, one at the high school, one at the middle school, and made them to save some salary. We constantly look at where we can trim supplies, but that's such a small part of the budget. It doesn't make the kind of money up that we need to make.
Yes, yeah, I understand that.
So, paper this year, I know that was asked about at one point. We could cut the entire paper budget and it's $16,000. That's not gonna make up $1 million. I know the small things can add up.
No, but I think that
A lot of the
when you see the small efforts and they can hear the small efforts that are made, no, it's not going to make that big chunk, but it is comforting to hear that there have been things that have been done. And we've talked before about, curriculum coordinator. It's a time consuming job, but we have picked 2 curriculums without one.
Hey, hold on that.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
End up holding on that. The other thing with the paper, that's the lowest it's been probably since, can't go back too far because inflation of it jacked up, but 16,000 is well below the 20 that we spent over the year. But there is a constant look at where we can save. We're at the point where when we're looking at no increases, you're looking at cutting people, which cuts programs in the district. And if that's the direction that we want to go as the board, they can certainly direct that and we'll go there, but we have not been asked to do that. We don't have parents asking us to eliminate programs. We've done a lot with what we get, and I can say we constantly look at it. At one time, I was asked about personnel. We measure it in what are called FTEs, full-time equivalents. At one time, within the last, I think it was 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. We were at 159 FTEs. We're at 142 today. So that's 17 positions that have been cut over time through retirement that we haven't replaced, just different ways of not replacing people. So we constantly look at, we have a process. The admin team goes through what are called impact statements. We do that for any expense, including replacing teachers. We don't just automatically replace people. We look at the numbers, we look at the need, and we decide if we need to replace that. And there are times we haven't. So we are careful stewards of the public's money.
Well, I think it's important for them to hear these things coming from you when we don't ask any of those questions and you guys don't, have all that right in front of you and no one's asked you, then it's not said. So I think it is important for them to hear the things that you are doing, because if nothing's said, then they don't believe that there is anything being done.
And they may still not, but we do the hard work, and there's a big decision coming where you could have some more savings. And you have to be willing to make those difficult decisions to collect those savings. I keep looking at the ceiling, Brenda, because that's where you're coming from.
I was looking to the right, so I wasn't even looking at you. I mean, I'm just looking to the right and listening and responding, so I wasn't even looking at the screen.
Just saying, I'm not rolling my eyes, I'm looking up at
You're looking up, I'm looking to the right. Yeah, I get it, but you're thinking as you're talking, and that's what happens. So, okay, thank you.
The one question I know, it's difficult when you're standing on that side and you want to ask questions. So I've been on that side often. Mr. South can attest to that. And Todd and Dan and Dave. One of the questions you did ask is what will the kids be missing if we don't increase it? And one of the big things that if it wouldn't get increased is the armed security. That wasn't in the budget prior, it's in the budget now. I think it's an important addition for the safety and security of our children. I also think it's also, one of the nice things is that in this age of, you know, back to blue, I think it's made our kids really comfortable with a lot of these, armed security guards are ex-police officers. And they're wonderful gentlemen. We don't have any ladies, so I'm not just saying that, but they're wonderful gentlemen, and I think the kids have gotten really comfortable with being around officers and learning a little bit about that. I think that's very valuable. And if we don't increase the taxes, they're gonna go away. Because that would be one of the major expenditures. It's probably one of the only things that we've added into this budget. I know you all talk about inflation. I know you saw those numbers up there. If we don't make a decision on the elementary schools, they're gonna cost us $4.3 million in the next 2 years. And I don't wanna raise taxes. And I feel for you, I have elderly parents. They live in Williamsport School District, you know, and the taxes are very high. But I also know that inflation also hits the school district. I know that may sound like, pass the buck, but it does. And you look at the fuel costs and you look at those electricity costs and somehow they have to get paid. We're still at 0.56 operating in deficit. That's not even at 0.75, we were still 1.3 in the hole. So even raising taxes at 0.56 doesn't even make it to a balanced budget at all. And I look at that, we're gonna have to make a decision on the elementary schools, but even if we didn't, and God forbid that does not happen, we're looking at $4.3 million. I don't know where we're gonna get that. So when you're asking what the kids are gonna be missing, that's one of the big things that weighs on my mind. We have a lot of great teachers. I don't wanna cut teachers. I mean, I think we run a pretty lean operation right now. Our kids really thrive here. I think administration does do a great job of looking at doing long-term substitution rather than full-time employees when we have larger classes, because I mean, I have one child in a very large class and they worked with moving teachers around to accommodate that grade and moving them along with that grade. So they do things to try to accommodate what's going on within the district. I don't see, in all honesty, any way not to. And it hurts my heart because I go to the grocery store too. I know everyone does. But unfortunately, I think this is at the point we're at. I guess you're obviously getting an indication of what way I'm voting, but I just also want to explain my thoughts on that. And I know you say one more year, but what does one more year look like? We don't know. Is it worse? Do we go farther into the hole? I hate that this is how our public school system is set up and how it's funded. You talk about the millions of dollars, I think you did, Mr. Metzger. How often do we see that? No offense, that goes to Philly and Pittsburgh. I hate to say that, but it really does. I mean, we don't see a large chunk of that money from Pennsylvania.
Every county district share.
I get that, but we don't get nearly as much as some of the inner city. And so, and you can't create a budget on a wish and a dream. Like I wish and a dream that, you know, I get X amount of an increase and you can't plan on a wish and a dream of if we get X amount of dollars. So, I just sort of want to speak to that I don't take this lightly. It does hurt my heart, you know. I love Jack. I've sat out there with Jack for the last 5 years. He knows my parents very well. He and my mom known each other since they were kids. So, you know, I just think that when we're talking transparency and we're talking about these things, that those are the other considerations that have to go into play as well.
Ready?
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Houseman,
Yes.
Ms. McCoy,
No.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
and Mrs. Overheim.
No.
All right. Moving on to 10.2, approval of the 2024 homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution. Oh, we're going to combine all these. My apologies. So 10.2 through 10.4, we'll combine these. Oh, yep, that was on the other page. My apologies. 10.2 through 10.5. Take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any comments, questions?
I'm gonna ask a question, only because I have no idea what this is. What is the homestead and farmland exclusion resolution?
Like dangerously knows. Randy actually knows.
Just enough to be dangerous.
That's what, is part of that, but the homestead is the discount that you get when you own your home. So when you purchase a property, you have to fill out, a questionnaire that the county sends out to you. And that is that rebate that is taken off of the taxpayer's bill. You have to live in the home in order to get that. And, this year it went up to have to pull the exact calculation out here, but it's right around. So you'll see, $203.92. No, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. 207.78 will come off of the tax bill, as long as you have applied for that and are eligible to receive it.
So is that a form that comes in the mail?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, most people have it on their tax bill. So it's part of the, for the gambling, the slots. It's that. It's right on your tax bill. It says member that right on there.
oh, okay.
They send it and then they, like almost every year, you'll get a little form that is an application for the state. So
You only get it for the end of the.
I haven't seen one.
You only get it from the beginning. One, I think, once you're approved.
Yeah, once you're approved, unless you sell your property. I thought I didn't see it more often. Yeah.
Some people may get such steps.
So if there aren't any other questions or comments about that, the solicitor is requesting a roll call vote for 10.2 through 10.5.
And I will just say, the attachment that's on there goes and describes it in great detail.
Okay,
So the attachment, so
Okay.
all the detail on it.
yeah, I do not read that.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Houseman,
Yes.
Ms. McCoy,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
yes.
and Ms. Overheim.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Committee reports. Ms. Oberheim, you want to give your report on PSBA?
I have nothing from PSBA.
All right, well, thank you then. Policy Committee, Mrs. McCoy. She was so cheerful about it.
Was it loud? Does it come across
Cheerful.
loud?
It is.
Very, it was a very joyful response. Thank you. Mrs. McCoy, policy.
The only thing I have is that I am working on getting information about the changes that are gonna go into effect on the 1st of August for Title IX. And I've been talking to Mr. Termino, and I'm gonna attempt to set up a Zoom call. Either, I guess we only have one meeting in June, don't we?
In July, yeah, July.
Okay, so maybe we can set it up for an executive session for a Zoom call with, that pertains to the changes and whether we want to support that or whether we want to try to put a policy in place that will put us in a position where we can take a stand on not following those mandates that are coming out in August, but we have to have it in place before August 1st. Yep.
And that would be a public meeting. Because it's a
Oh, would
policy
it?
matter, yeah.
Oh,
it will
okay.
not be in
All right.
exec session.
Thank you, Dan.
I knew if I didn't say it, but that's correct. It will be a public meeting.
All right, thank you,
That's
ma'am.
all I have.
All right, IU, Ms. Meyer.
I got it. You maybe you'll help me out with this. There's an upcoming IU walk, the IU walk at Loyal Sock at Schick, that they do the parade.
Oh, for the extended school year.
Yeah, for the extended school year program. So there's a parade, for all the kids in the IU. I feel like it's July seventh, or is it the, or the third? Anyway, it's a Schick. It's a great opportunity to go out and support all the kids within the IU. They have a huge parade and go around. So, yeah, one of the things that's celebrating the end of their year and all their hard work. So those kiddos tend to work a little bit harder than the rest of the kiddos. So, good accomplishment. They really get a kick out of it. And I'm looking forward to it. So from what I understand, they really appreciate all the spectators. So if anyone has anything to do, I'll send out the date. More, and I have it written down. Oh, wait.
Right, it's July 4th or July 3rd.
July
10 a.m.
3rd. Okay,
Elementary, and then they have a rain date set for July 5th.
thank you. I was just gonna say, it was in that 4th of July range. So yeah, so July 3rd is Schick, so that's pretty fun, but it's all.
All right, thank you. LCTC, Mr. Gardner.
Gotta actually change that.
We switched it.
Yeah,
All right.
we're gonna flip it. You got to realize on it.
Okay, LCTC, Mr. Ock.
I'd just like to recognize Caitlin Emick. She's a graduating senior. She's been enrolled at LCT since ninth grade. I had the privilege of sitting on a board several weeks ago in which each program submitted a candidate. So there's 8. Caitlin Emick was one, so I got to listen to presentations, get to know a little bit about each of them, as well as Caitlin. And in the end, she got first place by all of us. So that's a very good award, the Student of the Year award. She plans on going on to East Stroudsburg University and getting a master's degree in speech language pathology. So congratulations to Caitlin Emick.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. All right, Memorial Garden, Mr. House.
We had our cleanup day on May 18th. Shout out to Mr. Weaver, Scotty Conkle, Chuck Grimm, Mrs. Tyra for organizing, getting the Key Club, some of the Middle School Builders Club kids, some Kiwanis Club members there. It was in the rain, of course. It was one of the 15 straight rainy weekends. We cleaned up most of the sticks and spread the mulch. A big thank you to Donnie Conkle for donating the truck and mulch. Thank you to Eddingers for continuing to treat the grass, keep up with the trees, and a thank you to Mr. Navo's grass cutting crews for not blowing grass in the rocks. So.
All right. Budget, Mr. McCoy, Mr. Hausnick, anything to add?
Yeah.
Nothing, all right. On Toursville Foundation, Mr. Young's not here, Mr. T.
Yeah, they had their event at the Legion. They raised event, they ran it from 10 to 4. They raised $2,151.09. Plus they're waiting on a few more donations from some area businesses and clubs. But nice event for them. I think it's going to be one they continue. Lots of winners of baskets that the school donated. Just a lot of local help with that event. So thank you, Foundation, big supporters of us in the school district. They allow us to do some of the extra stuff we normally wouldn't be able to do. Good event for them.
Outstanding. Thank you. Mr. Albert, Buildings and Grounds. Nothing. All right. Extracurricular, Mr. Hausneck.
End of the season sports. Shout out to Anna Baylor and Nate Fisher. They both took first place in the districts in the discus. And we had a bunch of other state qualifiers. Weston Fry, Emma Klein in 3 events, Kendall Sims, who took second in the district pole vault, and the 1600 relay team of Emma Klein, Metzger, Warner, and Burwager. Girls softball upset Shamokin in the semifinals, but lost to Jersey Shore in the district finals for the 2nd year in a row. But, you know, they're still in the district finals. Baseball beat Mifflinburg in the semifinals and lost a heartbreaker to Danville, 12-11 in extra innings in the final game. And Danville just lost in the state semifinals. Numerous boys made the PZAC All-League team. We had 6 or 7 boys making, and only 1 was a senior. On most all these sports, it's all, for the most part, underclassmen dominated. So there's a good thing going there. And the other thing was the Ray of Light Awards. MH at Montoursville got the outstanding musical in the northern region for Hurry Up and Wait. Brenda Rosenbaum was the outstanding performance in a supporting female role. Hunter Hepler. Yeah, thank you. Outstanding performance in a leading male role. And Naomi Alexander won a bronze medal in merit performance and also was runner-up for outstanding musical performance in a leading female role. So athletically, the arts, the music, Montoursville kids are doing really well.
Yeah, I concur. I'm going to kind of look at this from an extracurricular perspective, but I just want to kind of say I had the privilege, and Mr. Snell, I know you can relate to this because you've done this, but I had the privilege of handing out the diplomas at graduation last week. And I texted Mr. T the next day and thanked him for the opportunity. That was amazing. What I loved about it is hearing the parents heckle the kids as they're coming up and watching the looks on their faces when they're rolling their eyes and things like that, which I thought was fantastic. But my favorite part of it was how their peers were cheering louder than their parents and siblings were when their names were called. And I just thought that was outstanding. So I know we're kind of going through tumultuous times here this time of year with budgets. But just seeing that kind of put my mind at ease that I know we're doing the right things. And I want to thank you guys for coming here consistently and having respectful conversations about your opinions on the budget and listening to what we have to say in board. I think we did an outstanding job this year. That we're very respectful in communication with each other. And I'm very proud to be on the board with all of you guys right now. It was a good run. Definitely difficult situation to kind of be in budget wise, and we're going to do it again next year. So I commend all of you guys for sticking around and being to it and just being respectful and honest in your opinions. But just again, seeing that the graduation and seeing the kids be able to feel that joy and seeing the parents' excitement just kind of drives everything home for me. So that's all I got. Safety and security, Mr. Young is out, so I don't know if Mr. Eisenhower.
Nothing new that.
All right. All right, we'll wrap that up and move on to the final public comment session of the evening. Again, this is for residents and taxpayers. You get 3 unpaused minutes.
Ron Snell again. I'm sure that all of you know how disappointed I am with the tax increase that was approved. And I'm also sure you all know that there's some on this, around these tables that could care less about how disappointed I am. But I'm not the only one that's going to be disappointed. Those people out there that are having a hard time right now paying their taxes, buying food, buying medicine, they're going to be disappointed too. They're going to be disappointed more than me because I can afford the taxes. I don't fight to keep the taxes down for me. I fight to keep the taxes down for those people. One other thing that I want to say is that presentation tonight, that 17 million for a 10 years plan for later. You all are leaning towards closing the valley. That 17 million isn't a true figure because you can't take close to 300 students from the valley and move them to Leiter without adding on. That's 17 million, probably be closer to 30 million. By the time you do a renovation and an addition and take away all the green space at Leiter, because not only do you need room to add on, you need to add on the parking spaces for the added staff members that are gone, would be gone there. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that a school without green space isn't for the kids. Thank you.
Jack Callahan, yeah, I want to say, I heard the one thing was 19 million and then he, like Ron says, 17 million for those two schools. I don't know. You could almost build a new school for 36 million. And I don't know. All I do is remember the old Jordan Avenue school down there in Jordan Avenue, where it started out as a high school and then went to where I went to elementary school, and it was I think 4 stories. And the only thing that would go wrong would be the boiler every once in a while. And they didn't have air conditioning, they didn't have nothing down there. They had a ceiling where you could see dead birds up in the whatchamacallit. And you know, and they didn't have a gymnasium, they had a gym on Broad Street. And I just want to say, and then they didn't have no cafeteria either. The cafeteria, they bused the students over to the high school, the high school. And you know, everything went fine. Mr. Dice was the principal, and you know, and he ran a tight ship. And I don't know. You know, this is all, I'm not saying this is all new to me, what's going on, but you know, it just seems like it's spending, you know, and now that school survived a high school and an elementary school for years, and you know, there wasn't any problem. So, I mean, like I said, a boiler might, you know, but you know, they had it. You had the chalkboard and the seats and everything, you know, you kept your books there and all that. So everything was fine.
So I'm here tonight as a resident of the borough and as a business owner. And you all know I own properties and with my family. And a lot of them are seniors. I think you could say raise their rents. As a business owner, I have to balance a budget too. And what I would ask you to do, because what I hear tonight is this is just the beginning. This is the 10th increase in 12 years. That's why I came back up here. 10 increases in 12 years. That has to stop. It has to stop. People can't afford it. And you hear it from your neighbors. You hear it from your friends. I ask, as someone who owns a business, as someone who does another occupation, you cannot balance a budget getting rid of paper. You cannot balance a budget on your employees' backs. No business can do that, nor is it appropriate to do that. What you have to look at is your insurances. What can we negotiate insurance-wise? What can we negotiate regarding medical cost? What are our investments? And are those investments paying off? So I'd ask the board members, look at the district's investments. Are they yielding the proper return? Okay, that's things you have to look at, because you're going to talk about millions of dollars you're going to have to come up with in the next couple of years. And you can't go the 11th increase, the 12th increase, the 13th increase, because what's going to happen then is this town's going to turn into a rental town. It happened in Williamsport. It happened in Williamsport in the 80s. When they couldn't afford their taxes, people moved. They moved. Let me finish. A lot of those people moved. And a lot of 60% of the cities now is rentals. And a lot of landowners from other states. So these are the things you have to balance as you make these decisions, because Sharon, as you said, this doesn't even cover part of the cost, not even close. So this is just a Band-Aid on a problem that you guys are going to have to come up with on grants for your investments, because the taxpayers can't keep footing the bill. You're going to have to come up with a different way of paying the bill. And that's either through the grants and grant writing, which we're very good at the county level, because the people we have working there doing those grants, or the investments. Because you can't keep coming back to the coffers because people can't afford it. Thank you.
Right, seeing no one else in the room, we don't have any spectators on Zoom, just reporters, Ms. Oberheim and our solicitor. So that will conclude the public comment section for the evening. And with that being said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.